What's up, Duval? It's your favorite Jag, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jaguars, a podcast dedicated to all things Jacksonville Jaguars. And today, coming off the bye week, we're going to talk about what we should have learned coming off the bye week, what the coaches actually did over the course of the bye week in letting the players out the building, and how the Jaguars can attack this last 6-game stretch of the season to finish in the best possible manner. But before we get into the team, let's talk about the other part of our team, and that is Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. Look, this is, I would say, an exciting time despite the record. 2-9, the Jaguars sit, but being the ever optimist, the division is still in play if the Jaguars can find a way to get hot the last part of the season. But before you can talk about getting on a 6-game run, you got to take care of the game that is right in front of you. And we'll talk about that later in the week on a second pod. But what I want to talk about today is what the Jaguars and what Doug Pederson talked about doing over the course of the bye week. The Jaguars had a bye week last week. Doug Pederson let the guys go from Tuesday to Monday. So if you think about having a full week off of work, getting out of the building, don't worry about football. Let's try and relax, recharge, reset, and refocus so you can finish with a bang. If you think about that for players, like it's a perfect time to do that. Look, the team is struggling. You're 2-9, and I can tell you, being a part of it, being around the team, being on the sideline, man, it's miserable when you lose games. And when you lose games in the way in which the Jaguars have lost game, I want to say 5 one-score games that you've lost. You've been blown out in a couple of others. You haven't lived up to the expectations that you had in the building and what the outside world has had for you. You had a lot of noise about your coach and your general manager and people being fired. No matter how strong you are mentally, that begins to weigh on you as a team, not only collectively, but individually. You begin to worry about, well, what's next? What's going to happen if they fire the coach, if they fire the GM? What does it mean for me? As a player, that's a lot to kind of handle at one time because you're not only trying to focus on your job and playing well every Sunday, you're trying not to look and flip pages ahead to see what's the final chapter in the book that will be 2024 and 2025. That's why it was really smart for Doug to get the guys out the building. Hey, let them go away. Let them hang out with their families. Let them go to their hometown or vacation or whatever. Let them get out of it so they can kind of like just recharge and come back with, I would say, a renewed energy and vigor to attack the last 6 games with the best attitude, ready to give the best effort, and ready to compete, regardless of what the record is. Let's treat this as a new season and come back. For the coaches, the bye week is a really important time to kind of dig into who we are as a team, what we've been able to do successfully, what has not worked for us, what changes can we make to give us the best opportunity to win games down the stretch. When you look at it even closer, what are the best schemes that work for us? What are the plays that have worked well for us? What are the concepts that we feel good about? And what do the numbers say are the best things for us? Because sometimes when you are a coach, you may think certain things are working well, but then you get the data and you're like, oh, that's not as effective as we thought it was. Maybe we need to spend less time doing this and more time doing something else that gives us more bang for the buck. When it comes to studying the tape, which players are playing the best? What's the best personnel packages for us to be in offensively and defensively to maximize the talent that we have available? With injuries and those things, you have to look at who is up and able to play. What can we do with the players that are available to give us the best chance to play better, to be more efficient offensively, to be more productive and disruptive defensively? All of those things are under review. And then the final part of it is, what's the best plan that we can put together going forward? When you're Doug Pederson, you look at the 3 areas of the football team: offense, defense, special teams, and you try to put together a plan that ties those 3 phases together to put your team in a position to win games at the end of the game. Whether that's leaning on the running game more because the defense is playing well, we're getting great opportunities and field advantages with the special teams. If it's the offense is better playing at a shootout pace where we want more possessions because our offense is rolling, then you do that. But the head coach's job is to map out the best plan going forward to put the team in the best position to win. Because regardless of what the record is, 2-9, in your mind, you're still hoping to get back into the division race, even though I can't think about all 6 games. I got to think about it one game at a time. Because the Texans have floundered a little bit, you still might have an opportunity to control your destiny if you're able to take care of your business starting this week. So if you're Doug Pederson, the number one thing that you've done is you're focusing on the offense. And Doug Pederson in the press conference earlier today said, look, there were some changes that were made, but he would not disclose those changes to the public. Okay, Doug, like you don't want to share with the public. You want us to kind of wait till Sunday to guess what's going on, whether it's who's calling plays, whether it's what roles and responsibilities players are doing differently, who's in the starting lineup. He wants to keep that under wraps, and that's his right. But what I would say is when you're looking at this offense objectively, you have to make some changes to give your offense, this unit, a better opportunity to be more successful, stay on the field, pick up first down, score more points. Not scoring enough points. We can talk about the defense and all of that stuff, but right now, based on how this team was built, looking on paper at the roster, this should have been an offensive juggernaut, a team that leaned on the offense with Trevor Lawrence and company, throwing the ball all over the yard, run the ball occasionally to Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby to put points on the board. The points are not coming on the board. So what can we change to get it going? Number one thing that has to change is, one, Trevor Lawrence potentially coming back. Franchise quarterback. Look, we've seen him play well at times. We've seen him operate at an efficient level. He's been effective in the passing game. We need number 16 if he's healthy to play and to play well if he returns. For Doug Pederson, and the organization, you got to weigh the pros and cons that are associated with the risks in Trevor returning to play. Had a chance to kind of see some of the clips of him throwing it around. Maybe Trevor really wants to go out there and finish this thing off the right way. If he's healthy and available and he can protect himself, then you hand the ball to 16. You say, hey, fella, let's go see if we can build some momentum, either helping us find a way to finish strong, helping us get into the postseason against long odds, or helping us build momentum for 2025. You want to give Trevor Lawrence an opportunity to regain his swag, regain his confidence, and find a way to play at his best. When I look at how Trevor has played this year, to me, he's been at his best when this team has operated with quick rhythm throws and concepts and played at a quicker pace. Doesn't mean that we're in no huddle, but it's quick and efficient. In the huddle, out the huddle, at the line, go. In the huddle, out the huddle, at the line, go. Quick rhythm, let's get going. Let's find a way to get into a groove. Conceptually, hey, man, utilizing what I would say the 10 to 15-yard box to find a way to string together completions, whether that requires more horizontal plays with crossing routes and those things, moving across the field with the receivers asked to either keep it on the move versus man or sit down versus zone. Those things work well for Trevor Lawrence. They work well going all the way back to 2022 when Doug Pederson first took over the team. Maybe you dig in the crates and bring back some of those concepts that worked really, really well during his first year as you're building back his confidence and the confidence of the offense. The other thing that you want to do is having a conversation with Trevor about what are the things that are best, but also establishing a pecking order for the playmakers. As much as we talk about plays and concepts and tactics, this is a player's game. The best team get the ball to the best players. The best players have the biggest impact on the outcome of games because they're your best players. Why not give your best players multiple lottery tickets to be able to cash in to help this offense pop and pop at a high level? When I look at it, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, Brenton Strange in the passing game, 1, 2, 3. That's how the ball should go. If you think about inside-outside premise, we're talking about 2 tight ends and a stretch receiver. That's how the ball should go. Perhaps that is more 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers on the field, but utilizing that personnel grouping in a variety of ways where you're utilizing spread and heavy formations to dictate the terms to the defense. But initially, it has to be about establishing the pecking order in the passing game. Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, Bretton Strange. But for real, Brian Thomas Jr., look, he's natural number one, big-time playmaker, has the ability to flip the field with those vertical throws. Why not push it down the field 2 to 3 times a game to see if number 7 can come down with an explosive like he has done on multiple occasions this season? Evan Ingram, it's about using him as a quasi slot receiver. Screens, option routes, sit downs right over the ball, things that are really within that 10 to 12-yard area. Make sure he is fed. If you had to tell me about targets and touches, I would say that Brian Thomas Jr. on a minimum needs to get at least 10 targets every game. That should put him at about 6 to 7 catches. If things go right, he should be close to 100-yard games. You feel great about that. Evan Ingram might require more targets to get more touches. So if we talk about 10 to 12 for Brian Thomas Jr., I would say, man, 14 plus for Evan Ingram, knowing that most of his catches are going to be under 10 yards. He's going to catch the ball short of the sticks, find a way to break a tackle, and advance the ball beyond the sticks. To me, it's a two-man game. It's number 7, number 17. They get fed over and over and over again. Then anyone else who registers a catch, it's because the primary options weren't open and Trevor Lawrence was committed to throwing the check down. If you establish the passing game and get the passing game off with the quick rhythm throws like we're talking about, you have to be able to complement it with the running game. The running game has been disappointing because the Jaguars have not been able to impose their will on their opponents. The offensive line has not been dominant. The offensive line has maybe played to a stalemate on occasion, but really the offensive line has been playing on their heels. For the Jaguars to have any level of success, the offensive line performance has to improve. They have to be able to control the trenches. They have to be able to move defenders on the other side of the ball and impose their will in terms of being a physical offense. Weeks ago, we had Joe Thomas, a Hall of Fame offensive tackle, talk about what he liked about the offensive line ahead of this team's matchup in England. He talked about, I love the physicality and the toughness, the rugged ability of the running game. That hasn't necessarily shown up since those comments, those positive comments from the Hall of Famer, but it certainly is there. When you think about Walker Little playing at left tackle, whether Ezra Cleveland is in, Mitch Morse, Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, Anton Harrison, all those guys rotating in, you have to be able to move the ball on the ground to create better opportunities for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball. The running game has to be top priority, not 3 yards in the cloud of dust running game where old school, you kind of banging your head into a brick wall. But it's about making sure that Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, they get enough touches to impact the game as runners. Travis Etienne, we've talked about it. Like when this team was successful a couple of years, he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard season. Give him the ball and let him have an opportunity to touch it. That's 15-plus touches on the ground where he is able to kind of get busy and do his things. And it's not just touches. It's running plays that are within his wheelhouse, off-tackle runs, perimeter plays, draws, delays, things that take advantage of a spread-out defense. Travis Etienne needs to get 16 to 18 touches, with most of those being on the ground. Yeah, we can flip a screen and those things out to him. But when you run the football, you impose your will. You also control the clock, and you begin to dictate the terms to the opponent. To do it, the line of scrimmage guys, they got to win the battle. They have not won the battle consistently enough, not over overall games. They've been fine, but in key moments, in third and shorts, fourth and shorts, they've come up short time and time again. This has to be a call to arms. This has to be a challenge to the front line guys, dominate in the trenches and give your team an opportunity to win the ball, win the game, because you can control the game with the offense, protecting the defense, setting the defense up for prime opportunities. So offensively, running game, get the ball to your best players in the passing game, take care of it, be efficient. Trevor Lawrence, don't blow the layups when you have an opportunity. If Trevor Lawrence does those things, this offense will pop, and this offense is good enough to start winning games down the stretch. But really, when we talk about a team and winning, man, the winning comes from the way that you play defense. And right now, the Jaguars have not played good enough on defense. There's no way to explain it away. There's no way for me to positively spin it. They play bad on defense. Like they just have not played well. They've been exposed. They haven't been able to aggressively come after the quarterback. They haven't been able to sit back and play bend but don't break. They've been torched in a variety of ways. People are gutting them on the ground, having a ton of success. And when I look at the tape, to me, it's look, the three A's show up: alignment, assignment, adjustment. Either we're misaligned, we can't fully execute our assignment, or we don't know the next steps when it comes to an adjustment. The Jaguars have surrendered too many big plays on failures in those areas, meaning they don't get aligned early. They don't understand the assignment. So there's some coverage bust because you don't really know what you're doing. And the final thing is the picture changes post snap. So now what you're supposed to do changes, and you have to make the adjustment on the fly. To do that, you have to have a high IQ team that understands exactly what they're doing so they can play fast and free and know exactly what's going on. Somewhere there's a disconnect because you're seeing too many open receivers running free, too many big plot, too many deep balls flying over the top of the defense, and you're giving up just too many big plays. Ryan Nielsen, coaching staff, they had to spend all of the bye week working on simplifying the plan to allow guys to not only play fast, but to know what they're doing so they can get there with bad intentions. To me, going back to the early presses, because I went through my notes and I remember being very optimistic about this defense. I remember how it looked like in preseason, even though it's preseason and it doesn't matter, it does mean something in terms of the dress rehearsal. This unit played really well on defense. What has happened since those moments, team has lost confidence. Lose a couple games, you lose your belief, you don't fully engage in what the culture of the program is. And so then you begin to have some splintering. And when you have splintering of the defense, it's hard to win because all 11 must be on the same page. I think after the bye week, Ryan Nielsen certainly looked at that, and I'm sure he will address the simplicity of the defense to make sure that everyone is properly aligned, they know their assignments, and they're making the right adjustments to continue to maintain the best defense or the best call against what is on the horizon. The other part of it is the tackling and the toughness. The team was a really good tackler in the early parts of the preseason. They tackled all the time in practice. They got people down, and you saw that play out. Bill Walsh will always say the behaviors precede the results. If you want to be a champion, you have to act like a champion before you become a champion. If this defense wants to play at an elite level, they have to act like and carry themselves like an elite defense. That means run to the ball, tackle well, play with a level of physicality and toughness. Every time you have an opportunity to engage an opponent, it has to be physical, it has to be violent, it has to be ferocious. When you do those things, then you have a chance to knock them around and impose your will, because tips and overthrows, drop balls, the intimidation factor kind of creeps in when you're able to knock people around and impose your will. So alignment, assignment, adjustment, tackling, toughness, all those things have to start showing up on tape for the Jaguars defense. The other thing, and we talk about it, and this sounds high school-like, but Ryan Nielsen has talked about the team running to the ball. And for most of us who have played high school ball, one of the first things that you do in high school, particularly when it's a defensive period, we got to start doing pursuit drill. We're running to the ball. We're running all the way through the line. We're making sure that no one is being passed up or that's regarded as a loaf, and you have to go do it all over again. Jaguars talk about those things. The Jaguars did those things early in the spring. They got to get back to the essence of what it is to play great defense in Jacksonville. And when the Jags have played great defense over time, it has always been about the physicality, the toughness, and the effort. The Jags have to get back to outplaying the opponent, out hitting the opponent, and out executing the opponent when it matters. Those are the things that stand out. And to do that, Ryan Nielsen may have to adopt a simpler approach when it comes to calling the defense. And I'll say this, man, when I look at the Jags play on TV or even on the sideline, pretty simple what they're doing. It's not a lot of tricks and gadgets and gimmicks that they're utilizing. They play pretty stand up and basic. When it's man, you can see it. When it's zone, you can see it. They want to keep the ball in front of the defense. They don't want to give up the big ball. They want to force people to take check downs, and they're going to rally and tackle. Sometimes they'll do it from a man-to-man premise where they may bump and run on the outside, lock up on the inside at the slot things, and then funnel the guys to where their help is. The Jags have used some regular man-to-man with a post safety, but a lot of two-man where they have two high safeties and they're undercutting everything underneath to make the quarterback make higher trajectory throws, which then are picked off on tips and overthrows. That's the entire premise. When you look at what they've really had to do, because they've been, I would say, outmanned at linebacker, meaning there's significant advantages for the offense when it comes to running back on linebacker. Play more zone, play some two-man, which is combination man zone. Some of those things that you want to do and have to do to protect yourself from giving up the deep ball while also being a little tighter and stickier in coverage. They can continue to do that. They continue to play two-man, but the only way they're going to be able to play it effectively is stop the running game on early downs. Jaguars have given up big yards on the ground. Last couple of weeks when I watched them play against Philadelphia and Detroit, man, they could have had their way up and down the field. Running game. Got to stop the run. Got to dictate the terms. Got to find a way to make it long yardage situation, obvious long yardage situations where you can take advantage of it. Because in coverage, not quite good enough to play sticky man the entire time, but too many holes in the zone. So you have to pick and choose, if you're Ryan Nielsen, how you want to attack each down, each critical situation to give your team the best, to give your defense the best opportunity to succeed. I would say perhaps a little more zone, more vision on the quarterback, see the ball coming out, run, rally to the ball, tackle him, get him down, multiple hats on the ball carrier, those things. Simplicity in terms of simple blitzes and schemes designed to allow the group to play fast. You play fast, play physicality, you're going to have a great chance to do it. Final part of it. Secondary has to decide who they are and what they're about. Are they man team or are they zone team? Can Tyson Campbell lock up on the outside, or does he need help in playing zone? How about the other guys? Darby. Has Father Time passed Darby by where he can't play man-to-man, or does he have the capacity to play zone coverage? What about Cisco and Dewey and those guys? Like, can they come down and do some of the things that you want to see them do in the box against the run while still taking away the big plays and the big play potential on the pass? All of those things factor into the decisions that you have to make when it comes to building a defense that can complement an offense that should be high-powered, but is not high-powered now. If the Jags can fix those things offensively and defensively, they will have a chance to win some games and potentially get hot down the stretch. But let's take a 1-0 mindset today. Let's see if we can get this team better, improving better each day over the course of the week. So by the time we get the weekend in the game, we feel great about what the responsibilities are and how we're going to respond when we get our chances. So that's a look at the Jags on the bye week. That stuff is important to monitor and assess as we go forward and as we get ready for the Texans game. But before I go, I want to kind of touch on something that is a bigger story, a national story. And one of the observations that we may have as team builders, you're always interested in the trends or the things that are having a lot of success in the league right now as you begin to project things out going forward. One of the things that I will say this, and I've always been the guy that's been regarded as the king of the running backs. Sure looks like the running backs are enjoying a terrific campaign in 2024. Last year, we talked about the state of the running back, and no one needs a big-time running back. You can get them in the later rounds, and why would you pay for a running back? And yada, 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 yada. Now, fast forward 1 year, those teams that were clamoring for running backs certainly would love to have one of the top running backs that were on the free agent market for, I would say, relatively cheap. All of these running backs that changed teams in the offseason came on basically bargain basement deals after having successful runs for their previous squads. When you think about Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs going to new teams, all of them are nailing it. And they're not only nailing it, they're centerpieces on teams that are near the top of the charts when it comes to the playoff run. Is there a direct correlation between the running game and the way people are playing? Yes, there's a direct correlation, because when everyone was talking about the passing game and how you have to throw it to win and throw it all over the yard and all of these things, and the teams that are successful are still throwing it, those things are true. But one thing that we know, every action has a reaction, and defensive coordinators have reacted by doing more too high looks, By going too high, they're taking away the deep ball and forcing quarterbacks to exhibit patience and discipline, taking checkdowns and short gains and moving the ball down the field 80 yards on 10 plus plays. For an offense that's used to scoring quickly, man, that's like water torture, that they're not able to score right away, and impose their will on the opponent. So the running game has been the answer to all of that, because when you have a big time running back like Saquon, like Derrick Henry, like Josh Jacobs, if you put two high safeties there, they're going to gut you for 150 yards, and it'll happen before you can even blink. These guys are high-end running backs that were taken at the top of the charts. Barkley and Josh Jacobs taken in the first round, Henry in the second round, but they were expected to be franchise players from day one. When you watch them play, they play like franchise players. They're able to put it on their back. They're able to tote it 20 to 25 times if needed to be able to stabilize the offense or run the clock out to clinch a win. When I look at Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, other things that strike me: physical backs with size, meaning 200 plus pounds, thick, sturdy, run through arm tackles, finish with violence, aggressively always running behind their pass. The only way you can do that, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, you got to be 215. You got to be a physical specimen to be able to handle that. We're seeing these backs have a little more size, a little more girth, that can handle the rigors of running the ball between the tackles. The other thing when it comes to these running backs, all of them, with the exception of Derrick Henry, can catch the ball out the backfield. Why is that important? Because you would like your running backs to be 3-down players. I don't want to have to go to a designated nickel guy. I don't want to, because the more that I can do with the same personnel group, the more I can limit how you counter what we're about to do. And as you think about the throws and the explosive plays, Saquon Barkley has a bunch of explosive plays on screens. Josh Jacobs can catch the ball out the backfield like a wide receiver. Hasn't been fully maximized yet, but is a hidden gem that needs to be discovered while these guys are overseas. Derrick Henry, look, he's always going to be a check down Charlie. He's not going to be the guy that you throw to, but his physicality and toughness as a runner is a tone setter. Ravens wanted to lean into that because it changed the dynamic of the team. But man, after few weeks after a season, all that whole humming about the running back, yeah, check the state of the running back. Running backs are alive and well and flourishing in the National Football League. And if you're a team that wants to score big points, man, get you a grade A running back that can dictate the terms, force people to play one-on-one coverage on the outside with a middle of the field safety. You get that, you have big plays because you're able to dictate the terms and take advantage of the holes in those run-heavy defenses. So that's state of the running back. Thought I would chime in, particularly after Saquon Barkley lit it up on Sunday night. I had to watch it. I feel bad, but man, I know the Mariners feel worse. They saw their division rival walk basically across the street to the Philadelphia Eagles and help them become, look, I'm going to say this, division winners and legitimate Super Bowl contenders, simply because you didn't value the running back. We can talk about that on another pod. Until then, we'll have another podcast that'll go up later this week. Make sure you check out all the cool things on the Bleav Network. Rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Even though the Jags aren't doing well, we're going to do some cool things on the podcast. We'll continue to talk about the team and where they are. But if we feel like the team is out the race, we then got to start talking about the prospects and who the Jaguars could target, particularly if they have the number 1 overall pick. Maybe it might be the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, coming back to his home state. We'll see. We'll talk about it. Until next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. This is Bleav in Jaguars, and we'll see you soon.